What would you do if the people you trusted most, your own family, stole everything from the one person who loved you unconditionally? That's exactly what happened to me. I'm Devin Hayes, a 23-year-old law student from Boulder, Colorado. I thought my family had my back until I uncovered a secret so dark, so unforgivable, it nearly destroyed me. They didn't just betray me. They betrayed my grandmother. If you've ever wanted justice against someone who wronged you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because by the end of this story, you'll see exactly how I turned their betrayal into the sweetest revenge they never saw coming. I grew up in a family where appearances were everything. Perfect house, perfect smiles, perfect lies. My dad, Richard Hayes, was a successful real estate investor, cold, calculating, the kind of man who believed money solved everything. My mom, Cynthia, was obsessed with reputation, always comparing me to my older brother Kyle, the so-called golden child, who ran a struggling tech startup. Then there was my younger sister, Avery, bubbly, self-absorbed, living her best influencer life on Instagram. And me? I was the invisible one, the quiet law student they tolerated at family dinners. The only person who ever truly saw me was my grandma, Lorraine Hayes. Grandma Lorraine's little house in Fort Collins was my sanctuary. Imagine an old brick home, covered in ivy, surrounded by a small garden filled with wildflowers my grandpa had planted decades ago. It always smelled like lavender and cookies. Every weekend, I'd drive an hour just to sit on her porch, sip iced tea, and listen to her stories. She'd talk about my grandpa, James, who passed away 5 years ago, about how they built the house with their own hands, about love and resilience and the importance of family. She was the only one who made me feel loved. So when I drove up for her 79th birthday, I was expecting warmth, laughter, family. But when I walked in, the house was silent. No decorations, no guests, just grandma, sitting in her armchair, staring at the wall. "Devin, is that you?" she whispered, squinting at me like she wasn't sure. "It's me, Grandma. Happy birthday." I set down a cake I'd picked up on the way. She smiled faintly, but then her expression fell. "It's my birthday?" That's when the pit formed in my stomach. Something was wrong. Over the next few visits, I started noticing things. Grandma would lose track of conversations. She'd forget where she put things. She mixed up names. Her mind was slipping, and that's when I found the contract. It was in a folder on her kitchen counter, tucked under a stack of old mail. A notarized property transfer agreement. According to the papers, my grandmother had sold her house 2 months ago. I froze. "Grandma, what is this?" She frowned at the paper like she'd never seen it before. I don't know, sweetheart." I flipped through the documents. Her shaky signature was at the bottom, but her confusion told me everything I needed to know. She had no idea she'd signed this. And then I saw the buyer's name. Kyle Hayes, my brother. That night, I drove straight to my parents' house. When I stormed into the kitchen, Dad was sipping scotch, Mom was scrolling Instagram, and Kyle couldn't even look at me. Why the hell is Grandma's house in Kyle's name? I demanded. My dad didn't flinch. "Lower your voice, Devin. You wouldn't understand. Try me." He set his glass down, calm as ever. "Your grandmother agreed to sell the house. We needed the capital for Kyle's startup. It's a family decision." Family decision? I slammed the papers on the counter. "She has dementia. She doesn't even remember signing this." Mom scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. She's fine." Kyle finally muttered, "I'll pay her back when the business takes off." My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. "You manipulated her," I said through gritted teeth. "You stole from her." Dad leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Watch your tone, son. You want to be a lawyer, right? You should know. It's all perfectly legal." That's when I knew. This wasn't just greed. This was calculated betrayal. That night, I sat in my car outside Grandma's house, shaking with anger. I remembered her sitting on that porch, humming old songs, telling me how much she loved this home. And now, they were taking it away from her. Tears burned my eyes, but then something shifted inside me. I wasn't just her grandson. I was a law student, and I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I made myself a promise. If they want a legal battle, I'll give them one. The next day, I skipped class and went straight to a legal aid center. I spent hours poring over elder abuse laws, property contracts, and medical statutes. I called Grandma's doctor and requested her medical records. I interviewed her neighbor, Mrs. Helen, who'd witnessed my dad pressuring Grandma to sign some papers. I found a notary who'd signed off on the deal and recorded the conversation. They admitted they never even checked her mental state. Piece by piece, I built a case. And when I filed a lawsuit to void the sale, that's when the real war began. Because my father, my mother, my golden boy brother Kyle, they thought I was weak. They thought I'd back down. They were wrong. What they didn't know was that I wasn't just fighting for Grandma's house. I was about to expose every secret they'd been hiding for years. After filing the lawsuit, my phone exploded. First my mom, then my dad, then Kyle. Call after call, voicemail after voicemail, all saying the same thing. Devin, take this back. Don't ruin this family. You'll regret this. I ignored every single one, because this wasn't just about property. This was about protecting my grandmother and proving that I wasn't the weak, invisible son they thought I was. I teamed up with a senior attorney from the legal aid office, Marissa Chun. Sharp, fearless, and absolutely ruthless in court. Exactly who I needed. We built our strategy around 3 things. Medical evidence proving Grandma's declining mental state. Witness testimonies exposing manipulation. Financial records revealing my father's dirty secrets. What started as a personal battle was about to become a family war. The courtroom smelled of old paper and tension. My father, Richard, sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, smirking like he already won. My mom sat beside him, perfectly poised, avoiding my gaze. Kyle, pale and jittery, wouldn't stop checking his phone. And then there was me, sitting next to Grandma, who looked fragile but determined, clutching my hand. The judge called the case, and Marissa rose with the calm confidence of someone about to tear an empire apart. She laid out everything. The timeline of the sale, Grandma's medical records showing her diagnosed dementia, the notarized documents signed under questionable circumstances, the neighbor, Mrs. Helen's, statement about Richard pressuring Grandma. Then she dropped the bombshell. Your Honor, we believe this sale was orchestrated under duress, constituting elder abuse and financial exploitation. We are asking this court to declare the contract null and void. My father's lawyer, a slick guy named Paul Donnelly, laughed under his breath. Your Honor, there's no evidence of coercion. Mrs. Hayes signed willingly. We have her signature right here. But then Marissa smiled. That terrifying lawyer smile that says, "Oh, I'm just getting started." Mr. Donnelly, she said sweetly, perhaps your client would like to explain these bank transfers. She projected the documents onto the courtroom screen. There was in black and white. $480,000 wired from the house sale, straight into Kyle's failing tech company. The courtroom went silent. Kyle's face went pale. He whispered something to Dad, but Richard just glared straight ahead. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Hayes, is this accurate? My father's jaw clenched. I was helping my son. Helping, Marissa repeated, pacing slowly. By stealing your mother's home? By exploiting her illness? Is that what you call help? Mom finally snapped. Don't you dare talk to him like that, she hissed. Marissa didn't even look at her. Mrs. Hayes, you can either calm down, or I'll request a contempt charge. Your choice. For the first time in my life, I watched my mother fall completely silent. Then came the hardest moment of the entire trial, Grandma's testimony. She shuffled to the stand, clutching her cardigan, her voice trembling. Mrs. Hayes, Marissa said gently, do you remember signing the papers to sell your home? Grandma blinked, confused. Papers? No, I would never sell James' house. Why not? Because she looked straight at the judge, her eyes welling with tears. Because that house is my life. It's where I raised my children. It's where I said goodbye to my husband. It's where I thought I'd spend the rest of my days. My throat tightened. The entire courtroom went quiet. Even Kyle looked away, ashamed. And then, the final blow, the notary's testimony. He admitted under oath that he never checked Grandma's cognitive capacity before authorizing the sale. After 3 brutal days, the judge finally returned with the ruling. Based on the evidence presented, This court finds that Mrs. Lorraine Hayes lacked the mental capacity to consent to the sale. The contract is hereby declared null and void. Ownership of the property is restored. Furthermore, temporary guardianship is granted to Devin Hayes. I won. I looked over at Grandma, tears rolling down her cheeks. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "You saved me." But across the aisle, my father sat frozen, his jaw tight, his entire plan crumbling before him. And I wasn't done yet. A month later, I got a tip from Marissa. Kyle's company? Bankrupt. My father? Under investigation for tax fraud, thanks to documents uncovered during the trial. The empire they'd built on manipulation was collapsing. But the best part? Remember that house they stole? I renovated it with Grandma. Fresh paint, new flowers, a rebuilt porch. Then I invited the entire family over for dinner. When they arrived, I handed them each an envelope. Inside were copies of the court order officially transferring ownership back to Grandma and a note I wrote myself. You thought you took everything from us. Turns out, we took everything from you. The silence at that dinner table, better than any victory speech. Looking back, this wasn't just about a house. It was about drawing a line. It was about protecting the only person who ever truly loved me and proving to myself that I could stand up to the people who try to break me. My family may never forgive me, but honestly, I don't care because Grandma's safe. Her home is safe. And I finally learned something my dad never understood. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, loyalty, and doing the right thing, even when it costs you everything. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted? I want to hear your story. And remember, justice isn't always served in court. Sometimes it's served at the dinner table.